Hey guys, I'm Anna.
And I'm Brian.
And we are Those Annoying Vegans.
We hope you guys had a chance to watch our debate with Primal Edge Health, and we hope you also had a chance to watch our debate recap that we made after that. Yet still, we're still getting the comments about moral subjectivity versus moral objectivity.
Why is this important?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's because people want to believe that if something is objective, it just makes the decision making easier.
Yeah.
It takes the work out of thinking because people are lazy and they don't want to have to come up with what is right and wrong. We agree. It would be so much easier.
Yeah.
If you could just ask somebody, hey, what's moral? What's immoral? Give me a list. I'll follow it. God, that would be easy. That would be so easy.
But that is not the reality that we live in. Yeah, it seems that people are really confused about what we meant regarding moral subjectivity in regards to other justice issues like slavery and women's rights. Even if you and I believe and know that slavery is wrong,
which we do,
it's not that it's wrong because it is objectively wrong. Hang on, here's what we mean.
Yeah, before you
hold on.
Take that clip out of context.
You know people are going to anyway. Even if you and I believe that slavery is wrong, which it is, it does not explain why people in the 1800s believed it was right or okay or acceptable or morally yes.
Yeah, people love to do this. They love to take what we know now in 2020 and just make all sorts of judgments about past human beings and just say, well, slavery's wrong now in 2020. It's objectively wrong now, which means it was objectively wrong in the 1800s, 1700s, and every other century where slavery took place. So was everyone in the history of humanity just being wrong and knowing that they were wrong? It was objectively wrong then, but they were still doing it. So were they behaving in a manner that was immoral to them?
So that is why objective morality cannot explain these social justice issues. Let's not forget that many of these issues are disagreed upon still, not only in the country that we live in, but across many cultures all over the world.
Most countries agree that slavery is wrong. Some don't. Most countries agree that men and women should be treated equally. Some don't. Most countries agree that the LGBT community should be treated equally. Some don't. How is this explained with objective morality? Please explain it. Is just everybody who's engaging in this behavior objectively wrong? Do they know that they're wrong?
When we are looking at the changing ethics of social justice issues, we are looking at them with confirmation bias of everything it took to get to the point where we decided that something was no longer morally acceptable. Do you think that slave owners in the 1800s thought they were wrong? Probably not.
I mean, I would say no. If they thought it was wrong, they wouldn't be doing it. I mean, there is the rare outlier of people who know that something is wrong and they do it anyway. When we're kids, we know something's wrong, we do it anyway. When we're adults, we know something's wrong, we do it anyway. But something as immoral as slavery, as owning another human being, objectifying another human being solely because their skin color is a different shade than yours.
It sounds ridiculous.
It's
now,
utterly ridiculous.
Doesn't it? I mean, now it sounds ridiculous, but back then, they had all kinds of justifications for this. I mean, this is no different than meat eaters today. They don't think it's wrong to abuse, torture, and kill animals just for mere taste pleasure. Most meat eaters are not even aware of this at all. It's that normalized.
And the other problem with objective morality is how can you be certain that today in 2020, our objective morality is forever moral? How do you know that eating animals is objectively okay, but slavery was objectively wrong? People in the 1800s thought differently than you do. So how can we be certain that our ethics today in 2020 are objective and will last for eternity? It's very egotistical.
Yeah, it's very egotistical, very self-centered.
Yeah, so arrogant to think that.
When we look at an issue from the point of view of the oppressor, okay, it's easy to see how that issue does not appear to be morally wrong. It's when we look at it from the point of view of the victim that we begin to understand the moral implications of that issue. So of course, slavery is wrong. It is wrong now. It was wrong back then. But let's not forget that back then people were wearing the exact same blinders that, say, meat eaters do now when it comes to eating animals. So of course, as tends to happen, we know there are people out there who are not going to listen to a word we're saying, and they're gonna jump right in the comments, be like, oh, are you comparing slavery to eating animals? Let them. Just let them, because they're not listening anyway. We are not invalidating any social justice issue. Every single social justice issue carries its own weight and its own value, but they all do share this common ground. They all have these ingredients that they need in order to function. First of all, a selfish reason that fuels the oppression. Whether it's people want their cornfields plowed for free, or men want all the control for themselves, or people want the taste of chicken, even though there are other options. They just want what they're used to. They're afraid of change. These are all selfish reasons that fuel oppression.
And then we also need a reason that makes that oppression acceptable in the eyes of the oppressor. So with slavery, it was skin color. With women's rights, it was gender. With the LGBT community, it was a sexual preference. And now with animal agriculture, it's species. It's something little, something minute, something irrelevant, some difference that we can point to and say, oh, that makes it okay in my eyes as the oppressor. Animals have feathers and scales and fur, and I have smooth skin with hair, and we're different. So that's good enough.
We tend to focus on the differences. And then what happens when someone points to the similarities? An outsider, perhaps. People of color are human beings too. Jewish people are human beings too. The oppressor then seeks to objectify the victim in a way that disconnects them from any responsibility. So if the victim is perceived as an object, then they are easier to abuse, and it's easier to justify that abuse. When the Nazis viewed Jewish people as parasites, they were called parasites.
They were called subhuman.
That was their way of separating themselves from the victim in order to justify the abuse. And whatever similarities they might have don't apply because of this one difference. And then they exaggerate these minute differences to outweigh the similarities.
The vast similarities. We see that with animals. First of all, we are animals. Human beings are animals. We're not fungi. We're not plants. We're not bacteria. We're animals. Pigs, chickens, cows, also animals. But we're not the same. We're not just animals. We're not the same as animals. We're not all one. We are different living beings with very similar traits. Our DNA is very similar. We are all sentient. We have the ability to experience pain, suffering, love, joy. When we look at these similarities, it makes us very uncomfortable needlessly taking the lives of innocent animals purely for taste pleasure. So, slaughterhouse workers, factory farm workers, they objectify animals. They see them as a commodity because it makes the stress, the turmoil, the inner emotional anguish that these human beings go through every day to satisfy taste pleasure, it makes it bearable for them. And we've talked about this before with our video about slaughterhouse workers. They go through PTSD. Rates of domestic abuse are higher in areas with slaughterhouses. What they have to endure, they have to murder animals all day long for a 12-hour shift just to keep up with consumer demand. Of course they objectify the animals. It's the only way they can get through it.
And people want to feel like they're part of something bigger. People are very afraid to go in a different direction. That's just not how we work as a species. As you can see now, we actually have to work together to achieve a common goal, which is not get every single human on the planet sick with COVID-19. But people tend to not want to feel alone. People tend to want to be part of the majority because being part of a minority is too scary. It's you're the outlier. You're the one who's criticized. You're the one who is not accepted in wider social circles. That can be very scary to people. So this need arises to seek justification in order to perpetuate the abuse. in order to make themselves feel accepted.
And one of those ways, as we have discovered, reading comment after comment, is to claim that there is some sort of objective reason why animal abuse is morally fine. And a lot of the objective morality seems to come from people of religious faith. As we explained to Primal Edge Health, if God is the person that gave us our morality, then our morality is God's subjective morality. God is a subject. He has preferences. Clearly, he made the world a certain way. He could have made it a different way. He could have instilled us with different beliefs, but he didn't. It would be like if we were to create a virtual video game and populate that video game with trillions of individuals, and then we instilled a morality in this game that we created. So now we are the creators of these individuals' everything. Everything that they know was created by us.
That's called The Sims. It's actually a video game.
Would their morality be objective? It was given to them by a creator, a being with a subjective experience that gave them these morals.
My Sims don't always follow the morals I give them, though. They still have some free will. They will still burn the house down if I don't tell them to turn off the stove.
And if you're going to say that science can dictate the objectivity of morality, well, please explain how the universe cares about human beings. What does the universe care? What does the fabric of space-time care about what human beings do or don't do? Over 99% of all species that have ever existed are already extinct. So it's arrogant to think that A, humans won't go extinct. At some point we will. And B, it's arrogant to think that the universe cares. What does the universe care?
I mean, look at
about
it now.
one species?
Look at it now. It's flourishing in the midst of this disaster we've created. You can see fish in the canals of Venice. You can see the air clear in many, many cities. The planet heals itself. We're the ones killing ourselves.
And we welcome debate on this, but the fact of the matter is that when we're sitting here squabbling over whether or not morality is subjective or objective, there are objective lives being taken at slaughterhouses all across this country. This is truth. This is fact. Lives are being ended for needless reasons. This is taste pleasure. Sensory pleasure is being used to justify murder. That is objective truth. Whether it's morally okay or not doesn't change the fact that this is what's happening to these animals. And we always want to keep the conversation focused on the animals.
On the victims. On the true victims. People like to, what do I do about, oh, I love cheese. I want cheese. You're not the victim here. You're not the victim. You have to look at this from the point of view of the animal who is suffering. And many people are going to still say, are you comparing human oppression to animal oppression? Yes.
Yeah, of course.
We are. We absolutely, completely are. The
Humans are animals.
Yeah, but animals are enslaved and exploited and treated like objects. They're bought and sold as commodities. By definition, animals in the animal agriculture industry are not free. They also can't fight for their rights. Doesn't this all sound familiar? This is why we need people who have the clout to speak up for them. And some people will say, you have no idea what my ancestors endured, what my gay brother endured, what my mother endured in the 50s. Well, the difference between those people and us is that we're gonna say, well, why don't you tell us about it? We'll listen, and we will agree. Yes, that was terrible. Let's continue fighting against this injustice together. But when it comes to showing you what animals endure to make it into your chicken sandwich, many people will look for every possible way to justify it. That is the difference.
These victims over here are taken very seriously. These other victims over here are not taken seriously. Why? Because I want to eat a sandwich. It's the pettiest of reasons to commit this kind of violence, and it needs to stop. So that's it for this video, guys. It was a shorter video than we normally do, but we just felt like we had to address this topic yet again because it keeps coming up. People keep conflating moral subjectivity with morals not being real. That is not the case.
That's not.
Things can be real and subjective. I believe, as someone pointed out in our comment section, they said, oh my gosh, how can a square be a rectangle but a rectangle not be a square? It exists. Things can be two things.
That's something we invented, by the way.
Triangles don't exist, squares don't exist, rectangles don't exist. We invented them.
Quadrilaterals can be squares or rectangles or any shape with four sides.
However, if you add up the 3 angles on this triangle that we invented, you will always get 180 degrees. That is objectively true. That's an objective fact. Now, whether you want to use degrees, whether you want to use some alien word that another species would come up with, whether you want to use a different way to label them, the distance, the relationships will be the same.
Meaning everything that is just is. Right?
Everything objective, yes. Morals can be subjective and real at the same time, and in fact, they are.
They are.
But what are your thoughts? Please let us know down below whether you want to discuss moral objectivity versus subjectivity, or whether you actually want to discuss the animals, the victims of the animal agriculture industry. Please have those discussions down below, and we'll see you there.
Please follow us on Instagram, guys. If you haven't already, we post a lot of content on there that you will not see on YouTube. And you can also follow us day to day in our Insta stories.
Yep, you can check out our Etsy store if you want to grab some vegan swag before the vegan festival season. And as always, we couldn't do this without our Patreon patrons. We can't thank you guys enough. It's amazing that you guys give to us every single month. You support us, you support our activism, so thank you.
So we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.
What are you doing? It's so strange. In moments like this, all I can think of is like, there are people out there who deny evolution, think it's ridiculous that we would come from some sort of ape-like ancestor. Yet here we are, primates, grooming each other in a very chimpanzee-like function.
It is true.
You ever see the facial expressions of like a bonobo or a gorilla, an orangutan? They're so human-like.
Yeah.
And people are like, I'm nothing like an ape. Yes, you are.
Nonsense.
1000%.
No.
Not only did we come from apes, we still are apes. Real quick, I know this is a blooper. It doesn't fly in the face of evolution to say that we've never seen a species produce anything other than its own species. That's how evolution works. Mm-hmm. Humans will always give birth to humans. Mm-hmm. Dogs will always give birth to dogs. Cats will always give birth to cats. That's not anti-evolution. That's how evolution works.
Mm-hmm. But when we look at it from point A over the span of millions of years to point whatever Z, the difference between point A and point Z is very different.
Yeah, it's quite drastic. It's almost like if you were to take a picture of yourself on the day you're born, and then take a picture of yourself the next day. You'd pretty much look the same. And then take a picture the next day and compare it to the previous day. Still, you pretty much look the same. But if you take a picture of you when you're born and a picture of you when you're 50, wildly different. Even though you're still you. Every day you're still you. It's amazing. I just cannot stand science denial. It's really a problem.
It's scary that people are putting that out
when
there.
we stop believing truth, it's like anything goes.
Yeah.
Just
people
anything
can
goes.
just make up whatever. Betty chicken. Come here, Betty chicken.
Betty.
You want to say hello? Oh my
This
goodness.
is Betty. This is Betty.
Okay, hold on. She needs something under her feet. Yeah, this is Petunia. Chicken. Hi.
This is Betty. Hi.
Hi, Chicken Petunia.
Betty walks around in her chair. She has a specially designed chair.
Hi, Chicken.
Right? And you can push yourself around.
Yeah.
And she has her little food bowl here.
She's a lovely part of our family. Mm-hmm. We love her very much, and she has brought us so much joy.
Yes. Oh boy.
Do you want a blueberry?
Oh my goodness.
Do you want a grape?
Whoa. Look at you.
She gets very excited when she
very
gets grapes.
excited.
And see, Petunia can be feathered, and we can still respect her right to live. Sometimes we sing songs like this. Betty chicken, Betty chicken, Betty chicken, Betty chicken. What is Daddy getting you?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
What is this?
What is it?
Ready? Look. Wow.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
Yum yum yum! Yum yum yum! Can we reach it? Here. Oh my goodness! Yay!
Get it. Betty can also be a chicken and still be a dinosaur. That's also how evolution works.
That's true. Have you ever seen a chicken run? They're so cute. They look like little velociraptors.
Birds didn't evolve from dinosaurs. Birds still are dinosaurs. What is this? Grapes. Whoa!
Oh,
Grapes are her absolute favorite.
They're her favorite. What is this?
Wow!
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Oh my goodness! Oh! Okay, you want to fly out? I know. Oh, now she's eating everything.
Blueberries are good too.
Blueberries and grapes. Okay, Botunia.
Did you burp?